Okay, so let's do like we always do our poll. Since I didn't get you for the first one, let me see a little bit your feelings about Rumi. It's your first time with Rumi. So 10, it was ecstatic. 1, it was horrible. Any 10s for Rumi? Put your hand in the screen. Okay, no 10s. 9, 8, 7. Okay, few of you. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Hassan, was that you raising your hand like super low?
No, no, no. I meant 10, but I didn't take it off in
Okay.
time.
Oh, you meant 10. All right. So, anyone want to share anything? Maybe anyone kind of a little bit uncomfortable with the poetry, want to share something about that? Otherwise, we'll go to the lovers. Okay, lovers. Why did you like Rumi so much? Maybe Hassan, you can start, and then whoever else wants to join in. No?
Say again? Me?
Yes, you said you gave a 10 to Rumi. Why is that?
Oh, I thought you started with the haters.
I didn't find any. Nobody raised their hands.
Oh, okay. Well, guess it's me again. All right. So I do. This is the way that he writes. I mean, I'm probably coming out this from a standpoint that most other people in this class are not, because I read the I out of my own time I read the whole thing. Like I don't know, and he comes from a standpoint that really shows that we have to like emphasize what he believes really matters, not the physical, not the material, but more the more spiritual and inner energy that we have to prioritize over everything else. And in order to do that, we have to just we have to go through annihilation, like the complete, not annihilation in the the violent sense that it brings in the English language, but annihilation as in the Arabic word is fana. It's to completely like destroy yourself in a way, to build yourself back up, to completely accept nothingness, to bring yourself up to complete um satisfaction. And but at the same time, there's steps for it, but these steps are always fluid, and you might see rules to Rumi's love, but these rules in a way are promoted to be broken. I think in my paper, I in another poem in the book, Rumi writes, if it is true that rules rise from love, it is also true that the lover pays no attention to rules. And I think that quote, I don't know why, but I really like that quote, and I feel like it really solidifies his message.
Okay, beautiful, Hassan. Very nice reading. Very nice intuition of what Rumi is talking about. I really liked it. Very nice. Yeah, absolutely. This notion of annihilation, right, which is the basis for love and also for building up the higher version of the self we're going to talk about today, right? So very good. Grady, would you like to add something? I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I didn't like love it or hate it. It was more of a in between for me. And my reason for that was just I don't know, sometimes with the different poems and different like sections of it, I felt like it was, I don't want to say a lot of jumping, but like one of the sections that really like spoke out to me was when he was describing love, and he said love is nothing but kindness and, I'm sorry, let me go back to the exact,
Gladness, kindness and
and
gladness.
gladness, right. um it kind of like had me confused. It's like when you think of kindness and gladness, it's like good things, but then he speaks of love as being nothing. It's just like, so then what is love? Is it good or bad? Because if someone's kind and glad, those, that's a nice person. But if you're saying love is nothing, then, and then when he continued on to speak about it, it's almost as if he's speaking of love negatively, but with like positive words.
Okay, you're sensing, right? There is an element in love which has to do with nothingness, right? Becoming nothing, like Hassan was saying, right? I think that's what you're latching onto. And for Rumi, this is good, right? It sounds terrible to us Westerners, right? The idea of becoming nothing is so frightening for us, right? But he's going to give us the path to that, right? Today, we're going to try and look at that. And then maybe you'll be able to reconcile a little bit these two ideas. Very good, Grady. Anybody else? One last comment before we go into the text? All right. Okay, so let's get into there. So I'm going to start with split the sack. If you listen to the recording I gave last time in the other class that I gave you to listen to, you would know that for this particular text for Rumi, I'm working more interactively with you guys, right? So you got to hear the comments of the other class. Today we're going to do our own comments, right? So I'm going to kind of work together with you for Rumi because it's poetry, it's very rich, it's not enough my interpretation, I need to hear also from you, and together we're going to kind of get to the meaning of the text, right? So I'm going to go to split the sack. Someone tell me what page that's on. Anybody know? Oh, I fell right on it. Page 44. Okay. This is the right poem, right? Because I'm confused now. Are we in the right poem? Somebody say something. Is this the poem that was assigned for today? Yes, thank you, Hot.
Yes.
All right, very good. Just making sure. Okay. All right, so I'm going to read and you guys are going to interpret, right? So he begins. So we'll understand a little later the titles, split the sack. But for now, we have this kind of image of a fish and a bird, right? And both of them seem to be scared of something, right? So let's look at that a little bit. So he says this: why does the soul not fly when it hears the call? Why does a fish gasping on land but near the water not move back into the sea? So here we have a fish which has fallen to the earth, it's gasping, it's dying, but it's staying on the land, right? And so Rumi is asking, why are you not going back into the sea? What's wrong with you? And then we have the same scenario with bird, right? We are out of our cages with our wings spread. We're ready to fly. We can fly. And yet he says we do not lift off. Okay, so both the bird and the fish are kind of like on the verge, and yet they don't go, right? The bird doesn't take off and the fish doesn't go back in the water. So what does this tell us about the way that we sometimes approach love? Anybody want to say something about that? How would you explain this? Okay, so I have a couple hands, so let's take a look. Who are these hands? Okay, Medina, and then Grady, I think you forgot to lower your hand. Medina, go ahead.
Could it be that we kind of like hesitate, like we don't fully like commit all the way as we should?
And why? Why? It's true. Why? Why don't we commit? It's, according to Rumi, committing to love is as natural as going in the sea. It's as natural as flying. Why are we not? Why are we so silly, do you think?
Maybe fear of change or fear of commitment itself.
Okay, absolutely, right? What we're learning here is that love, in a way, is a fearful endeavor. It's risky. You don't know what you're going into, right? The fish who's lived their whole life on the land, even though they're gasping on the land, they hesitate, even though, and this is the key for Rumi, even though if he were to go in the ocean, it would be amazing, right? He would be completely in his element, right? Same with the bird. The bird is on the branch, never left the branch, was born on the branch, right? And now it's time to fly. And the bird is like, oh, you know, he's too scared to take off. And yet we know that if it would take off immediately, it would be in its element and it would do fine. And this is how we are when it comes to love. We're scared to death to enter what Rumi says would be our most natural element, right? Why are we so afraid, right? It's new. It's risky, right? Being in the ocean is risky. Taking off from the branch is risky. And yet Rumi says, once we do that, we enter a realm where we become fully ourselves and where we become fully free. No matter how risky it is, it's the realm of freedom. It's the realm of absolute development, self-development, right? And if you're looking for self-development, right? If you want to develop yourself, if you want to grow, if you want to spread your wings, Rumi says, well, love. And that will do it, right? The best way to develop yourself, to grow and to mature as a person, Rumi would say the best way to spread your wings is to jump into a relationship, right? Respler, would you like to add a little bit?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, along similar lines, I don't like, in my perception of what he was saying, I perceived it as just not even so much about love, like that you need that in order to develop and like reach that realm of like self-development and like all of that. I think that he's just saying that you need to just like immerse yourself entirely in something. I don't know if he's specifically kind of saying that it's love. Like if you want to develop intellectually, you need to really immerse yourself. I guess similar to um like I don't know, like I just think that like in any realm you would need to completely immerse yourself entirely to be able to see that and like see that full development.
Okay, very good. I really like the way you broaden this idea. You're right, right? Anything you want to be good at, you have to take that leap of faith and immerse yourself and go all the way, right? Now, Rumi here, of course, is talking, we know this, that he's talking about God, right? Here I am kind of doing an application in terms of human relationships, but he's talking really about the relationship with God, that we have to just throw ourselves, right, in that ocean, take a leap of faith, leave everything behind, take that risk, and then we will find, right, God. So this is any love, right? Whether it's love of wisdom, whether it's love of God, or whether it's love of a human being, will require of us to spread our wings and jump, right? Or to roll into the ocean like the fish, right? It will require throwing ourselves completely into the thing. Otherwise, it doesn't work. We stay on the branch or we stay on the ground and we choke, right? Hassan, would you like to add something?
Yeah, was the fish metaphor in these poems that we read for today, or was it, or you just said that right now?
No, the fish is there. It's gasping on the land, but near the water and doesn't move back into the sea. You see it in the poem?
Wait, 1 second.
The
Um,
poem Split the Sack.
which one is that?
Split the Sack, page 44.
Oh,
Okay.
page 44.
Yeah.
I've been reading the wrong stuff. Damn.
Okay. All right, good. So moving on. All right, so this is first thing we learned, right? Now, because I see we only have a half hour left and I have a few more things to talk about. So let me skip a little bit to this game that these children are playing, right? A few lines down. We keep collecting rocks and broken bits of pottery like children, pretending they are merchants. So now he's comparing us to children, right? Now, what are these children doing? So to understand what's going on here, I want you to remember in your childhood, anything that you traded with each other. Any examples? So for example, you would trade, I don't know what you guys would trade. What would you trade in your childhood with other children as a game? Just give me an example so I can go with that. Okay, Pokemon cards. Yes, a lot of you say that. That's funny. Okay, very good. So for example, right, Pokemon cards, you have one, they have one, you trade and so forth. So he's saying we actually, many times when we love, we are loving like these children. I give you this card if you give me that card. What is he saying now, right? Now he's criticizing, right? He's just like he's criticizing the fish who is staying on the land, the bird who is staying on the branch. He's saying, here are you acting like these children. I give you my Pokemon card if you give me yours, right? Now, what does he mean by that? How are we like these children when we love very often?
We perceive relationships as transactional.
Okay, very good, right? This is a very serious criticism that a lot of us, in a way, need to receive, right? We perceive love as a business transaction. In other words, I give you this and you don't give me what I want, we're done, right? So anytime we don't feel like there is enough of a reciprocity, anytime we feel like you're giving more and they're giving less, I'm doing all the housework, you're doing nothing, right? We start to get uncomfortable, we start to protest, right? And Rumi is saying love is not to be lived on that level, right? Love is on another level. It doesn't work like a business transaction, right? To think of love as a business transaction is to think of love in a very childish way, he says, right? If you want to get to the higher level, you have to learn, like he says here, to leave your childhood, right? To learn to love because you love, not because you're getting something in return, right? That would be one way to interpret it. Yes, very good, Hot, right? Only wanting to do something if we get something back, right? So Rumi is saying when we love in that way, we're still loving like a child, right? I give you this if you give me that. To learn to love like an adult, he would say we have to leave behind this mentality, right? Very often, we need to know this, right? Very often, love will require of you to give more than you receive. Not all the time, hopefully, right? But there will be moments, right, where you are required to give more, to put more into the relationship, to be the one with the courage, to be the one with the strength, to be the one with the love, in order to help the relationship stay afloat, right? So he's saying, right, we need to be prepared for these moments where we are giving more than we are receiving. It happens, right? This is not, the fact that this happens doesn't mean that the relationship is over. It means that you that the navigation has simply become more difficult, that you're now on a more adult level, right? Okay, good. All right, very good. Anything else that you want to add on this topic of leaving the childhood, being like the bird and the fish? Very good. All right, let's go to the other poem, because I have a few things to say about that one too. Somehow we don't have enough time today. I don't know what we were doing to not have enough time. Okay, let's go to No Expectations, which is on page 76. Okay, so I want to start with the second paragraph, which is kind of interesting, where he says this: be foolishly in love, because love is all there is. So what is he saying? So this is going against everything we've learned so far, right? Going against this class, right? Because in this class, we're learning how to be wise in love, right? We're learning what is the wisdom of love, what is the skill, what is the, right, what is the technique, right, that we need to be able to forge a lasting relationship. This is the goal of the class, right, to teach tools. And now here he's saying, don't be wise, be foolishly in love. So what is he saying? What could be the meaning or the wisdom behind being foolishly in love? What could be the wisdom of that? Anyone have any ideas?
I would say a reduction of like anxiety that you may have in relationships that might like cause you to hesitate in regards to doing certain things.
Okay, so in other words, don't hesitate. Jump in, right? Be foolishly in love. Don't be afraid to jump in. By the way, who jumped in like this and made it in when we studied, in the text that we studied so far? Yes,
The Song of Songs.
Song of Songs. Yes, thank you. Sorry, Medina. Everyone jumped in. I'll get to you in a second, right? We saw this, right? The woman in the Song of Songs is foolishly in love. She's jumping in. She's running after this guy. She's not protecting herself. She's not taking any precautions, right? And yet, right, Rumi is saying this is the way we should love, right? Now, why is that? Why is he saying that it's wiser to be foolish than to not be foolish? What does it tell you about the way you love when you love in the way that the woman loved in the Song of Songs? What does it say about you as a person when you love in this way? You're not thinking of taking precautions. You're not thinking of protecting yourself. You're not thinking, what does it say about you? Halmurad, go ahead.
Maybe because it reveals your true self. You show your best in that type of action. You're not trying to pretend. You're not playing any games. You are your the true version of yourself when you're just losing your mind and completely in it.
Okay,
That's
very
what I
good,
think.
right? Absolutely. This is truth, right? We're not trying to play games and so forth, right? Gogas is saying you're allowing to let your guard down, right? This is vulnerable also, right? And Hat is learning a very important lesson that we're teaching in this class. It's okay to make mistakes, right? So you can jump in, right? The one who jumps in like this is the one who, in a way, who is utterly selfless. You're not thinking of yourself when you love in that way, right? And so in that sense, Rumi is admiring this kind of love, because this is the kind of love which has forgotten itself, right? You're not thinking of you and protecting you, and you're just completely taken over, right? And he thinks this is wise. This is actually wise. And we saw, right, in a way, how the woman, how through her very reckless love, right, in a way she is able to build a relationship, right, eventually. Very good. Let's see. Okay, Chavez, yes, speak to us. You have a little what's the word? I can't talk today. Chavez, you have something to say. Go ahead.
All right, I was just thinking how a lot of the times when you do just jump in, it's like pretty much just like the honeymoon phase and stuff, where everyone's just like in love and, you know, so enamored by each other, and you're not really actually like paying attention to what you're doing. You're just jumping in without.
Yeah, so what's wrong with that, Chavez? What do you feel that would be a problem?
Nothing. It just sometimes later on you realize that you should have like thought more.
And why? What happened? What happened later on that makes you think you should think more?
I don't know. I'm just assuming.
No, but explain. I want to go somewhere. So what happens? So you jump in. Okay, Leventhal is saying things start to get difficult, complicated, right? Now, listen very carefully, because this is very interesting. When do things start to become complicated? What is your mindset when things start to get complicated? Why do they get complicated? What your first fight, what is it about? What have you lost during, what are you losing during your first fight that you had when you just jumped in? In other words, what are you fighting about? Okay, very good, Evans. Explain to us. Go ahead, speak up.
Like when you fight, you're thinking about what you want, your problems with the other person, something that whatever happened, like it's everything from your perspective, not theirs.
Exactly. So when you love foolishly, you're not thinking of yourself. As soon as you start to think of yourself, you lose it, right? And so what Rumi is saying, we should continue to love foolishly. And then it's going to work. The problem is that we begin loving foolishly, forgetting ourselves, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the relationship, we remember, oh, I'm here. And I need, you know, some protection around here, and I need these rights, and I need this to happen. At that moment, you lose the foolishness and you lose the relationship. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Who were you? Who were you? Who was I responding to? Chavez. Yes, do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah.
You see what I mean? So what Rumi is saying is that consistently be foolishly in love, consistently lose yourself, forget yourself, and it's going to flow according to him, right? It stops flowing when we stop being foolish. That's the idea. Hassan, would you like to add?
With that said, I think the problem doesn't occur from the foolish love itself, but it comes from our wanting of boundaries and restraint in the middle of it that causes the problem. So like in another poem in the book, he speaks about how the fish already in the ocean does not care about where the shore begins and the ocean ends. Only someone outside of the ocean would worry about such a boundary. And I think this is a metaphor for someone already in love. You don't care about the boundaries and the restraints, i.e. the ocean. Instead, you're already in it. You're enjoying it. You're not worried about that. Only the people who are not in it are worried about where the shore ends and the ocean begins.
Okay, very good, right? What Rumi is talking about is that moment in the relationship where expectations start to arise, right? Why we have the honeymoon stage? We have the honeymoon stage because we don't have any expectations. We're open, we're exploring. But then little by little, the expectations start to creep up. Remember, the title of the poem is No Expectations. And then we start to demand and expect. And at that moment, we've lost this kind of, like you said, Chavez, so well, naivete. We've lost the purity. We've lost the innocence we had when we were just open and exploring, right? That's what he's saying here, right? Let us stay open and exploring throughout, right? Now, I want to make something clear, right? Not having expectations doesn't mean you don't have desires, right? You can express your desires in an open-ended way. Like, I would love this to happen. I would love that to happen, right? And then be open and exploring how the person reacts and where this takes you, right? But too often we have an expectation and we block. if this doesn't happen, right, we're done. It's not going to work. And we block the thing, right? So that's what he's saying. So being open, exploring, willing to go with the flow. We'll see this, we saw this last time, if you listened to the course last time, when we talked about not being the shepherd, but the flock, right? Willing to go with the flow, expressing your desires, but without putting ultimatums and heavy expectations, right? Allowing the desire to be responded to in your beloved's time and way, right? And this, the moment you start to say placing expectations and ultimatums, you're losing the foolishness, the beautiful foolishness, right? That was the beginning. That was actually what made it the honeymoon stage. Okay, very good. All right, now I want to go, let's see. I still have a few minutes to do another. So continuing, right, along those lines. What is love? Dissolving the will. Okay, so what does this mean, right? Now, a lot of us should be reacting to that, right? It should be a shock, right? So let's see what you have to say about that. Okay, Respler, go ahead. Please tell us how you would interpret this dissolving the will.
I just think everything that it seems as though Rumi is saying really like lines up a lot with what we learned from the relationship in Song of Songs, in that like they both kind of just like jumped in ahead in like whether emotions or in the physical, like whichever one it was, in what like they weren't yet prepared for, in order to like kind of create that like that relationship for themselves and like allow themselves to change throughout that process, which I think, yeah, very
good. You're making excellent connections. There are certainly this very similar mindset, right? The person who wrote the Song of Songs, very close, I think, to what Rumi is talking about. Absolutely. But let's go a little deeper. When he says dissolving the will, this should not come easy to some of us. What does he mean by dissolving the will? Does he mean we should become a pushover? Does he mean we should become a doormat? Does he mean we should just merge in the other person? What is he talking about here? Can anyone tell me? Okay, Löwenthal, speak to us.
I think it just means like similar to what we were saying before. Like when you will things to be, then there's no flow to it. It's just like it's like a complete. It's almost like you want to change things. You're not allowing things to be the way they are, and that stops yourself from flowing and letting yourself be the way you are, and the other because you want it to be this way or that way, and the circumstances have to line up this way and that way. Yeah.
That's a really nice, I hadn't seen it like that, Löwenthal, but I think your way of seeing it is better than mine. This is excellent, right? Dissolving the will. In other words, dissolving the expectations. I want things to go a certain way. That's the kind of will we're talking about. I want things to be like this. I want you to be like this, right? I want us to be here in 5 years, in 2 years, next summer, right? As soon as you start to want things, not in a way that is a desire, right? Remember, let's distinguish, right? In a way that is expecting it to happen. And if it doesn't happen, there's going to be a problem. You're going to block. Right? So absolutely dissolving those expectations, dissolving how we think things should go, which is very difficult for the control freaks out there, including me, right? To kind of just let go and go with the flow, allow the love to lead you rather than you leading the love, right? Very often we want to control the love instead of allowing the love to control us, right? To guide us, to bring us somewhere, right? So that would be a very good explanation, Löwenthal. Okay, so now I want to go to a very strange passage, which took me honestly years to figure out, but I think I'm finally, with the help of different students, I'm finally onto it. Go to page 77, where he says, be clear like a mirror, reflecting nothing, okay? Be clear like a mirror that reflects nothing. In other words, it's a mirror. Mirrors always reflect, right? If you have a mirror, it's reflecting back to you you, right? That's what a mirror does. You look in the mirror, you see you. You are the mirror is reflecting back to you what you put in, right? So he's saying now to be like such a mirror, but not to reflect. This was, I was like, what is he talking about? For so many years. And I think I've finally come to some conclusion, and I want to talk at length about this little passage, because I believe it has to do with the notion of forgiveness. Okay, so bear with me. What I want to do with you right now, which is something that I want to do in every class because it's such a useful tool, right, especially in relationships, is a small forgiveness workshop. Okay, so I'm writing it down here. We have about 20 minutes. And then, of course, once I've explained it, you will see very clearly what he's saying here, right? So are you guys ready for a forgiveness workshop? Put your hand in the screen if you're ready. Okay, this is not easy, right? Forgiveness actually is something that most of us struggle with, I think, for the main reason that we don't know what it is really. We're told we should forgive and we're like, I can't forgive. And then we just, kind of push it aside. Most of us don't really know what that means and why we should do it, right? And many times we think, well, no, I'm not going to do it because X, Y, Z. So I want to go into that because it is such a powerful tool to navigate relationships. So, and you will see once I'm done with the small workshop, how deeply it will apply to many of your relationships. All right, so forgiveness actually is a very ancient concept which originated in the Hebrew Bible, right? So this is where you have the first notion of forgiveness. And in the Hebrew, the word for forgiveness, one of the words for forgiveness, is a word called nasa. Okay, nasa is Hebrew. It's a verb, to forgive, nasa. There are many words to which express forgiveness in the Hebrew Bible, and nasa is one of the most common ones. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. When you look at the meaning of nasa, beyond forgiveness, nasa also means to carry. Okay, so this is strange. Okay, so basically in the ancient Hebrew language, which is where forgiveness comes from, right? To forgive means to carry. So what does this mean? Who wants to carry? Nobody wants to carry stuff, right? So what do they mean when they say that when we forgive someone, we carry what they have done for us? That sounds very unhealthy, right? Very unhealthy psychologically that you are here going around carrying this thing, right? Now, when I read this passage by Rumi, it dawned on me what it means. So let me share a little bit with you what I think to carry actually means. To carry something that, so let's all imagine, I want you right now, all of you to imagine something that someone did to you that you're still having trouble processing. Okay, let's do this together. Let's make this practical. Okay, everybody put your hand on the screen once you've thought of that thing that person did and you still haven't swallowed it. It's stuck here or here or here, right? Okay, hand on the screen for the people struggling with this. What? Some of you are having blissful lives. You don't have anyone who hurt you lately. Okay, so I want you to think about that thing, right? That person did that you still haven't digested. What the Hebrew concept, what forgiveness is saying, is that whatever the person has done, carrying means you choose not to reflect it back. Okay, let me say that again. This is the key. To carry the evil or the hurt that someone has inflicted on you simply means to refuse to reflect it back into their face. In other words, to refuse to react to it. So for example, let me give you an example. Suppose you're at work and your boss starts yelling at you in a way that's super disrespectful, and your first reaction is to snap back at them, right? To forgive in this context would mean you take the offense, you take the yelling, but you choose not to yell back. Okay, that's the technique. This is being clear like a mirror, reflecting nothing. Or let's give another example. You're at home and your sibling, I don't know, does something annoying. They they lose something really important that was valuable to you, and they don't even apologize, right? They lie about it. they tell you it's your fault. Now you're really pissed, right? Again, the thing happened to you, and you refuse to allow yourself to reflect back either in words, angry words, or angry feelings, resentment, hatred. This is all the way that we can reflect back. You either reflect back with words or actions, or you reflect back with negative, toxic feelings that, you know, you're having now against that person, right? To forgive is to choose not to reflect back these toxic feelings, words, or actions. Okay, now here's my question to you. What is the benefit of doing that for you, for the other, and for the world? What do you think? Let's start with ourselves. What would be the benefit of me refusing to reflect back the negativity that has been inflicted upon me right now? What is the benefit for me? Halmurad, go ahead.
I think the benefit is that you're stopping it right there. The negativity doesn't pass on to another person or group of people. You put an end to it right there at that moment. And it ends, it stops. You don't continue down that spiral that we often see in our relationships, that when negativity passes on to other people.
Okay, Halmurad, very good. But this belongs better to point 3 for the world. I'll come back to what you said, right? I'm coming back to what you said. But I'm just looking, so you're saying it's good for the world, it's good for the environment, it's good for the other person, but how is it good for you? How is it good for you? That's what I want to hear. Let's see, there's a couple hands or a couple comments. Let me look. Löwenthal, would you like to elaborate? And then Raman.
I guess, I mean, there's not much more to say, but like if someone hurts me and then if I do the same thing that they hurt me to them, I mean, it's just passing on the thing that hurt us. It's just like a back and forth. It's never solved, like was said before. But also, like, if you know it hurts you and then you're going to go treat someone that way, it's just like, kind of like, I don't know, what are you doing by doing that? It's just like, maybe you get it, like, it makes you feel a little better by then, like, hurting them in the same way they hurt you, but it's just, it's like, it's a small way of being about that thing. It doesn't solve anything in you or in the world.
Okay, good. You guys are on the right track. How might it, let me ask the question this way. How might it hurt you to react and reflect back? Let's look at that, right? How might it actually hurt you to do that? Let me hear, let me ask Evans, and then let me ask some of the hands, Hassan. So Evans, I think you were saying something in the chat. Would you like to elaborate?
I was kind of saying, like, when you react, you end up like thinking about it more. It ends up being more in your head longer. I feel like you just end up dwelling on things like that were said.
Okay,
and
excellent.
Without, you can kind of like move on. You don't like, it's in the past then, like you don't have to think about it anymore.
Very good, right? When you react, what you're doing is creating toxicity for yourself, right? So let me explain that very clearly, right? When you take it in and you don't react, actually what you're doing is delivering yourself from becoming toxic, right? When you react, that's when you become toxic. Hurt is not toxicity, right? Someone hurts you, you can just be in pain without having toxic emotions and toxic reactions, right? But the moment you react in a toxic way, there you are now completely taken over by this poison, right? Whether you react with your words or with your thoughts, now the pain has become toxic, right? And so the ability to forgive, meaning I choose not to react, I choose not to have these toxic emotions, I don't want to hate them, and I discipline myself I try to over and over again tell myself I don't want to hate them, I don't want to hate them, and I don't react. Actually, at that moment, you're protecting yourself from becoming full of poison, right? Because just receiving the pain in itself is not poisonous. The poison is when you react. That's when you start to transform the pain into poison. Are you following what I'm saying? Put your hand in the screen if you see what I'm saying. I want you to distinguish between pain and toxicity. or damage, right? Pain is not damage. Pain you will heal. Toxicity is what remains from the pain when you've reacted, when you're now angry, when you're now resentful, when you're now violent, abusive yourself. Now you have become not just wounded, you have shifted to the level of being toxic yourself, right? You have allowed that person to enter you and take possession, and now you're as toxic as they are, right? And so the first thing that forgiveness does, it protects you from becoming yourself toxic. Okay, Hassan, sorry, you've had your hand up for a while. What do you want to, would you like to add to this?
No, I was actually gonna say the same exact thing. That it's not about what they did to you or how that would affect you if you hold that on without forgiving, but the energy itself is important when it comes to Rumi's poems. It's not, once you start reflecting back with evil, you are putting that evil energy within yourself.
Exactly.
And that is the last thing you want, especially because when it comes to Rumi, the only thing that matters is your inner soul and your inner love. And if you're damaging that, then you're damaging anything that actually matters, not this person offending you in any kind of way.
Very nicely put, right? For Rumi, it's very important to keep the soul pure. Why? Because the soul is the place where you encounter God, right? If now your soul becomes full of anger and resentment, you have lost your connection, not only to the other, but to God himself, right? So that's why for Rumi it's so important. Someone hurts you, do not allow them that hurt, right? Do not allow yourself to become as evil as that person has been to you, right? You protect yourself, not from pain, but from evil. And so what Rumi is saying is that we don't need to be afraid of pain. What we need to be afraid of is becoming toxic from the pain. And that we have control over. Pain, we always recover, right? Pain doesn't last. Pain with time goes away. Toxicity can stay in your life forever, poison it forever, ruin all your subsequent relationships. There's the danger. Are you following? Right? That we don't need to fear pain. We need to fear our reaction to pain. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Put your hand in the screen if you're following, right? Let me say that again, right? We don't need to fear pain. Pain doesn't damage. Pain flows in and out, right? What damages us is what we do with the pain. Are you choosing to let this pain turn you into cold-hearted, resentful, angry, closed off person? At that moment, you are in danger of damaging every single relationship that is waiting for you in the future, right? You have damaged your life with your own choice. And so it's what Rumi is saying, we don't need to be afraid of pain when we enter a relationship. That's why we can jump into the ocean. That's why we can fly. There's no fear to be had of pain. Pain comes in and out, right? What we should fear is our reaction to pain, but over that, we have total control. Through the act of forgiveness, we can process, right? I remember, it's not easy, by the way, to keep ourselves from becoming resentful. I was one time very hurt by someone, deeply betrayed. It took me a year. Every day I would have these thoughts. Yeah, all these thoughts about that person being such a loser, such a jerk, such a weak person, cowardly, right? And the thoughts would come and crowd my mind, all kinds of negative thoughts about this person. And I would discipline myself when the thoughts would come. I would be like, no. I would almost say it out loud sometimes. I mean, people would think I was crazy. I'd be like, I don't want to hate that person. I want to love that person. I don't want to hate. I just simply saying it. I don't want to hear these thoughts. I don't want to have these thoughts. I want to be a loving person. It took me a year doing this day after day for one day finally to not have any more resentment in my heart for this person, right? To have love instead. So it's not easy to do this step of forgiveness, right? But the biggest winner of forgiveness is yourself, which is why even if the other is not deserving of forgiveness, you forgive for you, right? You still forgive them internally, even if they didn't ask, even if they don't deserve, even if they keep on doing it over and over again. The first person you forgive for is yourself, right? Now, how does it help the other person to forgive? Because it also has an impact on them. What do you think? Somebody hurt you very deeply. Internally, you forgive them. How does it help them? Medina, go ahead.
Well, if it's somebody that you've been in a relationship with, it kind of won't like damage your relationship with them.
Okay, so right, number one, you give a fresh start to the relationship, right? You allow them a second chance, right? You say, let's try again. Let's do this again. I'm gonna wipe this away and we can, right? In a way, you're giving them, you're opening up the possibility for them to become a different person, right? I think that's what Leong is saying, right? To forgive is to allow the person a second chance at being someone else. Right? They don't have to keep on being this jerk, right? I forgive you means I give you a new beginning. I give you a fresh start, right? You can choose other possibilities for yourself, right? Very good. Any other way that it helps the person to forgive? I think this is the main one, but anyone want to add something? Good. Now, the last one is the one that Halmurad was saying, and a couple of you in the chat, right? When you forgive, ultimately, you also help the world because you stop the evil right there, right? You don't spiral. You don't, what's the word? You don't amplify the evil with your response, right? You don't, right? Somebody says something to you don't like, and now you're speaking back at them twice the volume. And now they're responding 4 times the volume, and now you're fighting in the street, right? It has, you have increased in the world. Now everyone is watching, and now people are getting stressed. They go home and they get stressed with their families and everybody, right? It spreads. So to forgive in a way is to just stop it right there. It doesn't, you don't give it the chance to spread or amplify. So in that sense, right? So that's what I believe, really, this is what we're learning in this passage, right? Be clear like a mirror, reflecting nothing. At that moment, you are actually doing something very powerful for yourself, for the other, and for the world, right? To forgive is actually an act of courage. It's not an act of cowardice, right? To forgive is really powerful. It's not, right? Doesn't mean that you don't see the evil that was done. Doesn't mean that, you know, you're gonna accept it in the future. It doesn't mean you don't place boundaries for yourself. It simply means I'm not gonna allow this evil to change me, who I am. I'm not gonna allow this evil to make me evil back, right? That's the idea. Okay, very good. So that's the idea, right? So, and finally, right, he says this, be clean of pictures and the worry that comes with images, right? Pictures, it could be any type of pictures, right? Judgments that you have about the person, you know, angry thoughts, resentful thoughts, negative thoughts about them, right? You're just clean, you're clear. You don't have all of this battleground of toxic emotions and toxic thoughts when you forgive, right? To forgive is really to free yourself from the toxicity in your mind and the toxicity in your heart. And that's the idea. Okay, very good. Anything else anyone wants to add about anything we said so far? Or anybody have some issue with forgiveness that they want to, some objection or something they haven't yet, something that doesn't feel right yet? All right, very good. Okay, so yeah, so 2 things. Make sure you listen to the first recording for the first text of Rumi, but I've also given you, so 2 things I want to say. I'll put the gallery view. I've given you extra credit possibility. The video that I posted is on forgiveness, right? Now that we've studied it here with Rumi, if you want to get some extra points, and if you just want to, you know, go deeper in this concept of forgiveness, this is a beautiful video from a Hindu perspective. Totally different than Rumi and the Hebrew Bible, right? This is from the Hindu perspective, but it's very profound teaching, right? By this, she's quite young, right? She's a woman. She's a teacher in the Hindu tradition, and she actually elaborates on forgiveness in a way that's very, very clear and profound. So please watch that video. I posted it on Blackboard. One more thing. In general, you've noticed I'm pretty strict about deadlines and where you put the work and so forth. And you would, and attendance and so forth. So I don't think I told you this in the beginning of the semester, but because of, how things are a bit chaotic right now in the world, I'm going to give 2 grace points at the end of the semester to everybody, right? To cover any moment that you've had chaos, right? So don't worry too much, right? You have 2 times you can mess up and it won't show. Right, so everybody, so even though I'm pretty strict on the deadlines and attendance, and you lose points when you don't write, when you lose kind of these deadlines, I'm still giving you at the end of the semester these 2 grace points that should cover anything that you've missed. So I just wanted you to know that, so that you don't get too stressed about losing points occasionally, right? When you're late or you miss a class, you would have these 2 grace points, and you have the 2 points of extra credit, so 4 points total, right? You can make up right now. So I would really suggest those of you who feel like you're scared about where you're headed right now, go and do the extra credit, and then you'll get also 2 extra points. Okay, any questions? Did I stop the recording? No, let me do that.